Street or MVH. I think when we looked at it, there may have been a negative balance on one of those. You can't overspend that budget. You can't have negative funds because those dollars are being taken from someplace. So in order to get to a negative dollar amount, you've got to have taken money from someplace else to pay for those, whether it be services, supplies, whatever. There has to be an appropriation for those dollars that are spent, the corresponding appropriation. Yeah, council is the only body that can appropriate the dollars.
Want to pay all the bills we can. So I'll make a motion to pay all the bills with a positive balance and then table the rest.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Warrant
Just that one.
20172.
Point of order real quick, Mayor. I'm so sorry. to interrupt. Can we call a special meeting if we need to do that?
Yes,
Okay, I'll
absolutely.
get together right after the meeting.
All right. Warrant 20172 through 20237 in the amount of $149,798.99.
Yeah.
I'll repeat my motion for before to approve all claims and bills associated with positive balances in every account and table the rest until we can have an emergency meeting to transfer funds for the remaining outstanding bills.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, approval of payroll, February 15th, 2026, in the amount of $147,995.29.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Pension for February 28th, 2026, in the amount of $19,083.16.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All righty. Okay. Old business, internal control ordinance. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Adjusted revisions, things you'd like to see.
For what I understand, this is something we can build on, correct?
Correct.
And we do need to get something in place, though I did look over what we have in the general consensus of it. And if it's something that we can build on as we're finding out more information on what needs to take place, it should be taking place, then I say that we build on it from there. But I would like to get something in place. Did anyone have anything other than that they wanted to add? I didn't. Do you? I'm sure you need a motion for the second read. Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the internal control ordinance. Second.
Times.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Also, under old business, ordinance to amend rates and charges. Anybody want to say something before this? Jeremy?
Sure. I spent the last few weeks trying to take everything into consideration that was spoken to the public and want to thank everybody for coming out. It's not easy. In previous careers in my job, I traveled the state of Indiana and saw this happen throughout communities for 20 years, all over Indiana and every community. has really difficult meetings like this when they have to raise any rate, water, sewer, trash, storm. And the community wanting to see transparency, see what we spend money on, make sure there's no waste. We all up here hope and we do strive to try to make sure that there's not waste in your local government spending. I would look to vocalize that when I first started here, and sorry, I'm going to go on a bit of a diatribe, but I went with the guys plowing snow one night, and there was a stop sign pop riveted to the floorboards because the floorboards of that particular pickup truck were rusted out. And that truck had been used for pushing 30 years until the transmission had been rebuilt 6, 5, 8 times. Probably Mark had been working on it. So I want the public to know the city employees, to the point of their shoes wearing out, care for this city. They love this city. They could go anywhere else and work and make more money. They could have easier jobs. And so even though we're all frustrated, I would just ask you for you to think of your neighbor, the guy that works at the street department, the sewer department, who's not making as much money as he could somewhere else. Now, maybe he's making good money here for what we consider Alexandria is a community that is poverty stricken. I mean, if you look at the US Census, our numbers here, we're low income. We're not Carmel. We're not Fishers. We're not Hamilton County. I respect that. We're not driving all the fancy new vehicles that some of those communities are, but we do have some new vehicles. And I want to thank these different departments because I have watched them wait 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. The sewer department's driving hand-me-downs from the fire department. They've got old fire department trucks that quit working or were needing work. They've worked on them themselves. They spent time and they don't have a new truck right now. Yes, we bought a new skid steer. We bought some new backhoes and equipment, but that's because those particular pieces of equipment previously were 30 years old, 40 years old. One of our oldest dump trucks, not to put Mark on the spot, but his old red still running around town. What year is that truck? 87. Well, I remember 1987, so it doesn't seem that old to me. But that's an old dump truck that needs replaced. It's ridiculous. Now, it's not ridiculous because we respect your dollar. We respect your tax dollar. And we run stuff till the tires fall off, literally. So I just want to bring a little bit of balance to the whole conversation that your employees, every city employee here, every community has good and bad people, good and bad residents, good and bad employees. We try to deal with that the best we can. All that being said, I've taken the best I can also make heads or tails of, I'm not an accountant. So with these reports we got from Baker Tilly was a lot to digest. Some are 30 pages, some are 40 pages, some are shorter. And trying to find out what that is in your average bill. To clarify, what we advertised was the worst case rate. It's what they are recommending that we pass, but we can phase that in over time. I would love to say we don't have to go to that highest rate. And if the sun, moon, and the stars allow, and with the projects with the state and our negotiations with the federal government, if they go well, we might not have to make that final rate hike. But I'd rather be honest and look at the numbers where we have and what's proposed. It could be worse. If the state comes back and they want us to do more work, it could be worse. Right now, we've pitched what we feel we could be advertised and potentially passed. But I do agree. I think we need to look at phasing some of these in. There's a couple of them I've looked at personally, and I think they're too high. So I've written a letter to the council. I've addressed it. I can make it available after tonight's meeting. I've thrown my idea on the table, but it's just my idea. I want everybody here on the board to understand that's just my thoughts on paper. But I feel like we need to come up with a path forward that gets these negative fund balances back in the black. And those are lower numbers than what you've seen, what's advertised. The best I can run my math, it's 30% or less. Total bill rate hike increase less than 30% on your total bill. Now that will phase in and it will go up. In the next 3 years, it's going to go 33, 35%. And you'll see those. I need Baker Tilly to revise and review what I've proposed. They're not 100% accurate. And I'm not looking to necessarily make a motion tonight. I'm open to council's discussions. I've provided them with what I understood the numbers to be. The good news is Baker Tilly told me my numbers today were actually higher than what I thought. So the good news is it's potentially lower. Again, please don't take these as gospel, but I'm going to read verbally out loud what I put together that if technology will cooperate. What I understood the funds to be on trash, that's pretty straight and clear cut. We got goods and services and the contract that's got to be paid. We got to pass that payment on to the citizens. We don't make a profit. And they phase that out over, is it 4 years or 5 years? Can somebody correct me on their trash plan? I thought it was 5, but it looked like it was 4. Okay. Yeah, you're 5 years, but that's 25. We're in 26. So there's 4 years left. So I don't see any other way around trash. So in my opinion is that's just going to have to be passed the way it is. And then on to stormwater. I looked at the average of the municipalities around Indiana and what we are doing. I want the community to know, not to put Kyle on the spot, but Kyle's staff of 1. We don't have staff of 5. He doesn't own any of his own equipment. All the equipment's split. We're not doing drainage projects all over the community. There's a lot of drainage work that needs done in Alexandria, a lot. There's localized flooding. Yes, there's grants. We pursue those. We get those grants. We're very successful at getting grant money, 80-20 match typically. We'll need to pursue as much grant money as possible. But even with the stormwater rates, I am proposing that to be a phase in over whatever the council prefers, 3 to 5 years. What I threw on my paper here was $1 per year for 5 years, and the last year is 70 cents. On drinking water, unfortunately, what was advertised is the absolute lowest possible rate we can do on drinking water alone, and keep the bills paid. I would like to let people know our water meters, some of them are 100 years old and they're not reading accurately. We're also losing revenue because the meters don't read right. The guys are spending way too much time in the field reading these meters in the meter pits. They got to dip the bucket with a coffee can to get the water out of these old meters just so they can wipe the mud off and then see the book. And if it's raining out, they're going to write that down in this. It's a paper book. So we're not spending tons of ratepayer, taxpayer dollars. We have nothing in this era, in this region in particular, that's Cadillac in the industry. What we have and what we're using is 1940s, 1950s, 1960s technology. Most people don't know and realize that. Our infrastructure is 100 years old and plus. Unfortunately, water, I feel like, is going to have to be passed at the rate that was advertised. That's my opinion. Sewage, this is where it gets complicated, but we had a lot of engineering studies. The lowest, Baker Tilly gave us everything on a 4,000 gallon average bill. That's fine. That's their choice. That's their summary. That's what they do. They're a professional. But what goes into our ordinance is 3,000 gallons. The 60% that's been talked about is based on the 4,000 gallon average bill. That's not the ordinance. That's not the minimum. That's not what is going to be passed and adopted. So based on 3,000 gallons, if we look at a phased in approach, which they did prepare, that would cover the state's project of a long-term control plan, some moderate wastewater plant improvements to handle the big rain events. This is all done to keep sewage from flowing into the river. I think that's, well, let me just get on. Based on 3,000 gallons on the ordinance, and these numbers are low. Let me open a second email real quick because these numbers are a little lower. Please bear with me. I'd like to provide all of you with as accurate numbers tonight as possible. A phased in sewer rate, which currently is $45.33. Phase 1 would be $63.19. And phases can be years. It's up to council, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 5. Phase 2 would be $65.66. So that's a little over $2. And then phase 3 is only $68.22. Sorry, not only, but $68.22 based upon your $45.33 current. I tried to put those numbers in what your bill would be as residents. And again, they're going to be less than this. And I've got this typed out, but it's going to be less. So I'm happy to share this later. I'll just wrap up by saying I fully support we phase in the sewer. I was told from Baker Tilly that that first phase does cover getting us out of the red in an expedited rate, no more than 3 years, but we can't do deficit spending for 3 years. There are some other strategies that they told me we can pay things in a different way that will make it maybe as short as a year, year and a half. That passing that minimum first tier of the sewer would get us back in the black. So it's just my opinion that when we consider, whenever we vote on sewer, that we do a phased in approach, start with that lowest possible minimum bill.
So with
Thank you.
with that study, there are no bonds included. Is that correct? Because I know when Baker Tilly did the first presentation and they mentioned bonds, we knew we weren't in a position to take a bond. And I think that's how we kind of, most of us felt. And looking through this, there is mention of bonds. So is bond included?
Typically, a community can get bonds. And right now, I don't think we can. So when they say that, what they're referring to is state revolving loan fund. And so the state has its own pool of money that's like bonds. We won't go on the open market per se, because we really can't right now. So the state has its own pool of money that we will apply for. The good news is when we applied through the engineer about a year ago, there's a threshold. You have to meet a threshold for the state of need. We actually met the need. We were number 2 on the PPL list. So the good news is we can potentially get that funding for the project. It's low interest loans. We have to match that and connect that to grants. We'll get with the grant writer, and I'm sure Mr. Client Peter or whoever does our grant work will do everything they can to get us grants. The state is running out of their money they had to write off a portion of those loans. Unfortunately, the ARPA money is running out for them too. I was hoping we could get some of that written off, but that's probably going to be gone by the time we get to that.
So the new increase that you're proposing would take in effect the payment for the new state revolving.
Well, we're going to have to just get financing from wherever we can. It's not dictated. Our rates don't dictate where we get the funds from. I mean, worst case, sorry.
Right. Will be included in this.
Once we have to do a project, which even if the state approves it, it's 6 months to a year, you got to design it. That's all going to take time. I mean, we're potentially a year, 2 years from breaking ground on said project. But at that time, we will need to be, well, before that, we'll have to be trying to secure funding or financing from an agency. There's a couple agencies besides State Revolving Loan Fund we can apply to. Okra has the grants, USDA has some funding, but there's, I think, Jewel, Mr. Lee, you can correct me if there's a few other pockets of money that we might be able to go for.
Yeah, I mean, those are the 3 main ones when you talk about wastewater projects. So it's the State Revolving Loan Fund, Okra, and then
It's the Indiana
yeah.
IFA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think IFA.
And so no matter what, you're going to have a project that is tied to the long-term control plan. That is essentially an unfunded mandate that's come down from EPA, saying that you've got to separate your stormwater from your wastewater to ensure that you don't have overflows. So I know that they're working through that plan. So there's going to be some expenses that are going to happen on top of the negative balance that you're currently at. And so it is my understanding that the rates that have been presented by Baker Tilly are ones that will cover getting into the black as well as covering the long-term control plan projects as that have been identified.
And I think that's what we want to feel comfortable with, is that those are the 2 things that we meet. At this point, I feel that most of us feel like we can't reach for the stars right now. We're not in any position to do so. So, you know, it's helpful to hear these things. It's helpful to know what is included in this rate for us to make an accurate decision. And I know that it seems like this last week, There was chit chat of selling a utility. I don't know where that came from. I don't know who started that, but I do know that we asked if there was any other alternative, and the only alternative was to sell. I can't speak for everyone, but I would think that that would be the last thing we would want to consider. So I'm not sure where that started, and just rest easy that unless it was actually
Forced.
forced, that is not something that has even crossed our minds, other than knowing that's the only choice we would have. So that I know, I believe someone said it was in the newspaper, so perhaps that's where it came from. But we were not trying to rid of employees or try to sell our utilities. So I just wanted to make that clear as well. I know we need to act on this sooner than later, but I don't know that I'm ready to actually,
So
until we get the other.
do we want to table this tonight then? Table all four of these tonight and then have Baker Tilly come back with this stair step?
If my ask of council is with a phased in approach, can we ask Baker Tilly to revise, give us exhibit A's as published in the ordinance that are revised per the utility? They're all broken down by meter sizes attorney, please correct me here in this process if it's out of order, but is to request, and I don't know if we need a motion for this, that's why I'm asking it lengthy, is what can we ask of Baker Tilly to get us back with revised numbers that we can put that would go with the ordinance? I know it can be lower, as long as it's lower than what was advertised, that can be done. Now they might need, to your point, Amy, a timeline of phase 1, 2, 3, or can we pass a phase 1 now, because this long-term control plan's been dragging out forever. We don't know if they're going to come tomorrow and say, build it now. We are behind the timeline is my understanding, but it's been we've been dealing with this thing for 15 years. So
We are behind the timeline, but we're trying to renegotiate that, and it finally went to IDEM on the 11th of this month. So we're waiting on their decision on whether we actually have to do the $15 million project or we can step it back.
okay.
And
So my question on that is, if I don't want to kick the can down the road, but if we don't have to do that project till 2027 or 2028, do we need to tell Baker Tilly a structure with the sewage in particular? The rest I feel, but with sewage, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but whenever the council enacts those, does that have to have a calendar year tied to it in the ordinance?
If you want to set it up so that you don't have to take any other action again to raise the rates, then you're going to want to have the effective date for that rate increase to start.
Okay.
If you want to wait to see where everything is, then my recommendation would be, pass 1 at the lower rate that you're talking about.
Yes. And just again, to confirm, I want everybody to know that that pays the bills, that gets us back in the black, but it doesn't go after any funding. That lower one doesn't go after any project money. Until we know what those true costs
And
are.
then if you're going to do that and wait to raise for those costs, then you would advertise again, have the public hearing again, and do another rate increase at that time.
Otherwise, we need to list the phases now with
With the
effective dates.
Correct.
I don't think I'd be comfortable voting on this until we actually saw the figures. I'm completely against the 60%. I'll vote no.
So the request, I guess I want to put on the table when you say vote no, is just to get Baker Tilly to give us updated
Yeah.
numbers. So
Exact-
if
yeah.
we can get something from the board, and again, this is just water, sewer, storm, this isn't trash. I just want updated numbers on those.
The 3.
Yeah. And is council okay with me sharing what I emailed to Baker Tilly as kind of what we're thinking? And or do you just want to have us do the one load? I mean, Baker Tilly needs to come back to us with something potentially passable. So the ask, I guess, for me to the council or us, what do we want to instruct Baker Tilly to do?
We can have them come back both ways.
The two options.
Mhm.
Okay. The 3-phase and then also just do the one. Okay. Does that need a vote or consensus or what do we need?
You would need some action on the ordinances. So if you're not going to take action on these today, you would want to table it
Okay.
and stuff. If you want to have that as a directive to the mayor or the administration to go ask for that, you can do that by a motion, but otherwise you don't have to have the part of asking for the changes.
So just to be clear, there's 4 separate ordinances on the table.
Correct.
3 are utility, 1 is trash. Each of them needs a motion to table and or table with revisions to be forthcoming.
Yeah.
And then trash is still kind of hanging out there.
I want to actually make a motion to pass the trash ordinance. Because all the discussion seems to be about the other 3. And
As advertised. As advertised.
yes,
I'll second the trash ordinance. Can you give me the ordinance number? I'm sorry.
It's 20,
Can I read that?
2026-001-C.
Okay.
Basically what we've gone through, they did ask for several quotes, it's my understanding, and there's only one quote.
Thank you, Amy. To reiterate, the city did reach out to, I think, 6 different trash service providers all over the state of Indiana, and one might have been out of the state of Indiana. I can't remember, but we reached out and only one company responded. We can, and we do reach out regularly to find a better deal. We were hoping there was another trash company locally that could do that service and they can't. So this is the only game in town. If anybody finds a company willing to service Alexandria, please let us know. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to kind of make sure that I was understanding that because at that point, your hands are kind of tied as far as
100%.
our trash pickup. So I just wanted to make sure that we did.
Yes.
All right, I've got a first and a second. All in favor?
I
All opposed? All right. Do we need to do them all separately?
Mhm.
All right. Ordinance to amend rates and charges sewage works. Ordinance number 2026-002-C.
make a motion to table until we receive updated numbers from Baker Tilly.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Ordinance to amend rates and charges, stormwater utility. Ordinance number 2026-003-C.
Motion to table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Got one more.
Yeah, I know. I
Okay,
gotta,
sorry.
I gotta flip the page. I don't remember the number. 4. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Okay, ordinance to amend rates and charges, water utility, fire and fire. Ordinance number 2026-004-C. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
And is there any other action we need to take, or is there consensus with that? Okay.
All right. Any board comments? Board comments? All right. Next meeting will be held on March 16th, 2026 at 5:45 PM. Accept the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second?
Donna first.
Be done.
Somebody second? All in favor?
Aye. All opposed. Thank you.
You know what? Make sure we get our Yeah.